Galactic Council hang Deathworlder Diplomat. Earth started never-ending war on aliens. The galaxy's central hub of power, Luminal Nexus, stood as a towering city of shimmering structures and endless light. This was where the Galactic Council, the governing authority of countless civilizations, held its sessions and imposed its will. For centuries, they claimed to protect peace, but today their actions told a different story. In the heart of the city, an execution platform was surrounded by a silent crowd. Beings of every shape and form, scaled, crystalline, and metallic, watched as the human ambassador, Layla Cortez, stood before them. Her hands were bound by glowing restraints, but her head was held high. Her voice rang out across the plaza. "You call us dangerous because we come from a harsh world. You think labeling us as Deathworlders will scare others into silence. But fear doesn't make your actions right. This is not justice." Murmurs rippled through the alien audience. Many of them had heard of humanity's resilience, its ability to survive and adapt in conditions that most species would never face. That adaptability was seen as both a strength and a threat. The elder races who dominated the council had long worked to suppress any species they viewed as disruptive. Now it was Earth's turn to be silenced. Chancellor Vorith, the insect-like leader presiding over the council, stepped forward. His voice was cold and mechanical. "Layla Cortez, you are guilty of destabilizing the order of the galaxy. For this, you will pay the ultimate price." Layla's eyes scanned the crowd, then locked onto the hovering cameras broadcasting her trial to every corner of the galaxy. Her voice was steady and unshaken. "Earth will remember what happened here today. We will not forgive." With a flash of energy, her restraints activated. Layla fell lifeless as the crowd stood in uneasy silence. The broadcast reached Earth, where billions watched in disbelief. That disbelief turned to anger. This wasn't just the death of an ambassador. It was the start of something far greater. Humanity would not stand by, and the galaxy would soon understand the cost of their actions. Humanity had been a latecomer to the galactic stage. Earth's entry into the Galactic Council was a result of years of negotiations and cautious overtures. At first, there had been hope. Humans, with their unbreakable spirit and ability to thrive in extreme conditions, seemed to bring something unique to the table. But that uniqueness had always been a double-edged sword. Layla Cortez had been chosen as Earth's first ambassador, a role that carried immense weight. Humanity's place in the galaxy was uncertain, and it was her mission to prove that Earth could be a valuable ally, not a threat. She worked tirelessly, negotiating trade agreements, fostering alliances with minor species, and presenting humanity as a force for stability. But the elder species, the ones who controlled the council, had other plans. To them, Earth's resilience was unsettling, even dangerous. A planet they called a death world, teeming with predators, disasters, and challenges no other species could endure, had produced beings who thrived where others would fail. They saw humanity as unpredictable, uncontrollable, and most importantly, a challenge to their centuries-old dominance. Layla wasn't blind to this mistrust. She had spent years navigating the subtle hostility of the elder races. But it wasn't until she stumbled upon classified council communications that she truly understood the extent of their fear. The messages revealed a coordinated effort to discredit Earth and isolate humanity from potential allies. Worse, these same tactics had been used to crush countless other species before them. She acted quickly, compiling evidence and preparing to confront the council. She knew the risk. Exposing such a conspiracy could make her a target, but she believed in the principles of truth and fairness. Her idealism, however, proved to be her undoing. When she presented her findings, the reaction was immediate and brutal. The council dismissed the evidence as fabricated and accused Layla of inciting rebellion. It was a carefully orchestrated attack. The elder races banded together, silencing her supporters and ensuring that her voice would not be heard. Layla's arrest sent shockwaves through Earth's government. They pleaded for her release, offering to negotiate, but the council refused. The trial was swift and one-sided. The charges against her were vague yet damning, destabilizing the galaxy, spreading dangerous ideas, and violating council directives. Her execution was decided before the trial had even begun. When the sentence was carried out, humanity's leaders were left reeling. Layla had been more than just a diplomat. She was a symbol of Earth's hope for unity and acceptance. Her death was a message, one that Earth could not ignore. On Earth, the public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Protests erupted in every major city, uniting people of all nations in their shared grief and outrage. It was the first time in centuries that humanity stood together as one. Across every screen and every device, Layla's final words echoed, "Earth will remember." World leaders, faced with a united and furious population, held emergency summits. For decades, humanity had focused inward, mending its own divisions and rebuilding after centuries of conflict. But now, their gaze turned outward. Earth's leaders made a decision that would change the course of history. They would no longer play by the Council's rules. If the galaxy refused to see them as equals, then humanity would show them the cost of their arrogance. The decision to prepare for war wasn't made lightly. Earth's leaders knew the risks of defying the Council's might. The elder species controlled vast fleets and ancient technologies that far surpassed anything Earth had. But humanity had an advantage that the Council didn't fully understand: adaptability. Centuries of surviving on a planet filled with danger had made humans resourceful, creative, and relentless when pushed. Preparations began immediately. Factories were repurposed, producing starships and weapons at a staggering pace. Scientists and engineers, fueled by anger and determination, worked day and night to develop new technologies. Earth's military, once fractured and disorganized, unified under a single command. In every corner of the planet, people contributed however they could, whether by enlisting, innovating, or providing resources. But humanity didn't act alone. Layla's death had sent ripples across the galaxy, reaching species that had long suffered under the Council's rule. Minor races, once too afraid to speak out, began reaching out to Earth. They saw humanity as a potential ally, a force willing to stand up to the Council where others had failed. These alliances were fragile, built on mutual desperation, but they marked the beginning of something unprecedented: a united resistance against the Council. As Earth prepared for its first confrontation, a quiet determination settled over its people. They weren't just fighting for vengeance, they were fighting for survival. Humanity had no intention of conquering the galaxy or replacing the Council's tyranny with their own. Their goal was simple: to ensure that no one else would suffer as Layla had, and to prove that even in the face of overwhelming power, justice could prevail. And so, the spark was lit. The Council had taken Layla's life, but in doing so, they had awakened something far greater, a force they could neither predict nor control. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, and now it would pay the price. The death of Ambassador Layla Cortez was a turning point for humanity. Her execution, broadcast to billions across the galaxy, ignited a fury on Earth unlike anything seen in centuries. For the first time in generations, humanity's countless nations, ideologies, and divisions were swept aside. Layla's last words, "Earth will never forget, Earth will never forgive," became a rallying cry. On Earth, the streets were filled with protests. People who had once been apathetic about interstellar politics now demanded action. Her death was not seen as the result of diplomacy gone wrong, but as a calculated message from the Galactic Council. That message was clear: humanity's presence in the galaxy would never be accepted. In the halls of Earth's newly unified government, world leaders met in emergency sessions. For decades, Earth had remained cautious, avoiding actions that could draw the ire of the older, more powerful species. But Layla's death shattered that approach. It became clear that the Council didn't just distrust humanity, they feared it. And fear, when left unchecked, would only lead to further acts of oppression. Earth's response began with strategy, not retaliation. Leaders and scientists turned their focus inward, assessing the planet's capabilities. Though Earth was relatively new to interstellar travel, it had prepared for this moment long before joining the galactic fold. The resources of a planet rich in natural elements, coupled with centuries of innovation, had quietly built the foundation of a formidable force. Factories across the globe were retooled to mass-produce advanced starships, weapons, and defensive systems. Earth's engineers, spurred on by anger and grief, pushed the boundaries of existing technology. Prototypes that once seemed years away from completion were finalized in weeks. Spaceports buzzed with activity as Earth's fleet began to take shape, a fleet that blended human ingenuity with cutting-edge innovation. But Earth's greatest strength wasn't in its machines, it was in its people. Humanity's survival on a dangerous, volatile world had forged individuals who thrived in adversity. The Galactic Council had dismissed humans as brash and emotional, but they underestimated the resilience born from centuries of hardship. The planet's scientists, engineers, and strategists pooled their talents like never before. Medical experts developed ways to counteract alien bioweapons, while researchers studied Council tactics, identifying weaknesses. Hackers worked tirelessly to create programs that could infiltrate and disrupt alien systems. Meanwhile, the military, bolstered by volunteers from every nation, began rigorous training for interstellar combat. As preparations continued, Earth reached out to other species who had suffered under the Council's rule. The messages were simple but effective. You are not alone. Together, we can stand against this oppression. These messages resonated across the galaxy. For centuries, smaller species had lived in fear of the Council, their voices silenced and their sovereignty stripped away. Now, they saw humanity as a beacon of defiance. One by one, they reached out to Earth, forming fragile but vital alliances. These alliances weren't built on trust, but on a shared desire for change. Together, they became the foundation of a growing rebellion. On Earth, a unified leadership emerged for the first time in history. The global government adopted a singular motto that captured the planet's determination. We don't start wars, but we finish them. Earth's leaders knew they faced a daunting challenge. The Galactic Council had fleets and weaponry that had dominated the stars for centuries. Their ships were larger, faster, and more numerous. But the Council's power came from complacency. They relied on technology perfected long ago, systems designed for predictable enemies. Humanity, on the other hand, thrived on the unpredictable. Earth's military strategy reflected this mindset. Human tacticians avoided direct confrontations with the Council's forces, opting instead for guerrilla tactics. They developed small, highly maneuverable ships equipped with advanced AI systems that could outthink and outmaneuver the Council's slower, heavily armed vessels. They created weapons designed to exploit the specific vulnerabilities of alien species, from sonic disruptors to tailored energy fields. But preparation wasn't just about weapons and ships. It was about morale. Across the planet, humanity's leaders worked to ensure their people understood the stakes. They spoke of Layla Cortez not as a victim, but as a hero whose sacrifice would lead to a better future. Her face appeared on banners, holograms, and propaganda broadcasts, accompanied by her final words. She became the symbol of Earth's resolve. As Earth's fleet grew, the Galactic Council began to take notice. Reports of humanity's rapid advancements reached the elder species, sparking debates within the Council chambers. Some dismissed Earth's efforts as futile, believing the Deathworlders couldn't possibly match their centuries of technological superiority. Others, however, recognized the danger. Humanity's unpredictability, combined with its alliances with oppressed species, posed a threat unlike any the Council had faced before. In response, the Council attempted to intimidate Earth into submission. They issued ultimatums, warning of devastating consequences if humanity didn't disarm and submit. But these threats only strengthened Earth's resolve. For every warning the Council issued, humanity responded with defiance. For every insult, Earth worked harder to prepare. The final stages of Earth's preparations were marked by a quiet determination. The people knew the cost of what they were about to undertake. War against the Galactic Council would not be quick or easy. It would claim countless lives and reshape the galaxy forever. But for humanity, there was no other choice. They had been pushed too far, and now they would push back. As the first ships of Earth's fleet launched into orbit, carrying the hopes and anger of billions, the planet stood united. They were no longer just one species among many. They were a force to be reckoned with, a force driven by loss, by injustice, and by the unyielding will to survive. Layla Cortez's death had lit the fire. Now, Earth was ready to let it burn. The galaxy was unprepared for the fury of humanity's response. While the Galactic Council relied on centuries of dominance and its vast fleets, Earth struck with a ferocity and unpredictability that shattered expectations. The first strike came without warning. Earth's newly constructed fleet, a combination of sleek fighters and powerful warships, emerged from warp drives near a Council-controlled outpost. The outpost, a strategic waypoint for fleet deployments, was guarded by massive dreadnoughts, ships larger than entire cities, armed with weapons capable of vaporizing moons. By all accounts, the battle should have been a rout. But humanity had learned to fight in ways the Council could never anticipate. Earth's ships were designed for speed and maneuverability, built to outpace and outsmart the lumbering Council vessels. Instead of engaging head-on, the human fleet deployed advanced AI-guided drones, overwhelming the Council's targeting systems. In moments, the outpost's defenses crumbled, and its fleet was left in disarray. The victory was more than just tactical, it was psychological. For centuries, the Council had ruled with an iron grip, its fleets unchallenged in the galaxy. Now, for the first time, an opponent had not only dared to fight back, but had won decisively. The news of Earth's triumph spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the Council's member species. As the war escalated, Earth's adaptability became its greatest weapon. The Council, confident in its technological superiority, relied on conventional strategies. But humanity refused to play by the same rules. They hacked into Council communications, disrupting fleet coordination. They deployed unconventional weapons, including energy fields that disabled entire systems without causing lasting harm to civilians. Where the Council saw war as a matter of brute force, humanity saw it as a test of ingenuity. The resistance wasn't limited to Earth. Inspired by humanity's defiance, smaller species began to rise up. These species, long oppressed and exploited by the Council, saw Earth as a symbol of hope. On Council-controlled planets, rebellions broke out, weakening the Council's grip. While these uprisings were disorganized at first, Earth stepped in to provide guidance and support, uniting them under a common cause. The war wasn't without its costs. Humanity faced staggering losses, with every victory tempered by the heavy toll it took on its people and resources. Council counterattacks were brutal, targeting Earth's allies and leaving destruction in their wake. On one occasion, a Council fleet bombarded a planet allied with Earth, annihilating its capital city and sending a grim message. Resistance would not be tolerated. But humanity was not so easily intimidated. In response, Earth launched its most daring operation yet, a coordinated strike against one of the Council's central shipyards. The shipyard, responsible for producing the dreadnoughts that formed the backbone of the Council's fleet, was heavily guarded. Humanity's leaders knew the risks, but the rewards were too great to ignore. The attack was a masterpiece of strategy and coordination. Using advanced stealth technology, Earth's fleet bypassed the outer defenses undetected. Once inside the shipyard's perimeter, They unleashed a barrage of precision strikes, disabling key infrastructure. Council reinforcements arrived quickly, but Earth's forces were prepared. By the time the dust settled, the shipyard was in ruins, and the Council had lost one of its most valuable assets. This victory marked a turning point in the war. The Council, once seen as an unshakable authority, now appeared vulnerable. Its member species began questioning their allegiance, with some secretly aiding Earth's rebellion. Others openly defected, joining humanity's growing coalition. Earth's leaders recognized the importance of maintaining morale among their allies. They emphasized the war's ultimate goal, not conquest, but liberation. Every battle was framed as a step toward a galaxy free from the Council's oppression. This message resonated deeply, strengthening the bonds between Earth and its allies. The Council, desperate to regain control, began resorting to increasingly drastic measures. Ancient weapons, long thought forgotten, were brought out of storage. These weapons, capable of devastating entire planets, were a reminder of the Council's willingness to do whatever it took to maintain its power. In response, humanity accelerated its technological advancements, developing countermeasures to neutralize these threats. The war reached its boiling point when the Council launched a massive offensive against Earth itself. The attack was designed to crush humanity's spirit, to remind them that no amount of defiance could stand against the full might of the galaxy's oldest powers. But Earth was ready. Its defenses, bolstered by years of preparation, held firm. In a climactic battle above Earth's orbit, humanity's fleet stood its ground, repelling the Council's forces in a stunning display of resilience and coordination. As the Council retreated, humanity pursued, refusing to give them a chance to regroup. The tide of the war had shifted. What began as a desperate struggle for survival had transformed into an organized campaign to dismantle the Council's tyranny once and for all. The battles were fierce, each one pushing humanity and its allies to their limits. But with every victory, their resolve grew stronger. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, began to see a new future, one shaped not by oppression, but by unity and freedom. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven one thing beyond doubt. They would not back down. The Council had underestimated Earth, and now they faced the consequences of their arrogance. The galaxy was ablaze. Battles raged across countless systems, and every victory brought a grim reminder of the price of war. Humanity had achieved what no other species dared, standing against the Galactic Council. Yet, with each triumph, the toll of their defiance grew heavier. On Earth, the effects of the war were deeply felt. Cities that had once been symbols of progress and unity were now consumed by the war effort. Factories churned out ships and weapons day and night, and the global economy shifted entirely to sustain the rebellion. Resources were stretched thin, and the strain began to show. Families mourned loved ones lost in distant battles, and soldiers returned home carrying scars that would never heal. For Earth's leaders, every decision was a balancing act. They had to keep the rebellion alive while ensuring their own survival. Supplies were rationed, sacrifices made, and compromises accepted. But as the war dragged on, cracks began to form. The unifying rage sparked by Layla Cortez's death started to waver, replaced by questions about how far humanity was willing to go, and at what cost. The moral dilemmas became impossible to ignore. Humanity had begun the war with a clear purpose: justice for Layla, liberation for the oppressed, and an end to the Council's tyranny. But as the conflict escalated, lines blurred. To combat the Council's overwhelming firepower, Earth deployed weapons designed to incapacitate entire populations. Alien worlds were left in ruins, their infrastructures shattered in the crossfire. Innocents, beings with no stake in the war, suffered alongside the guilty. Earth's leaders grappled with these choices. In private meetings, heated debates erupted over the ethics of their actions. Some argued that there was no room for hesitation, that victory required sacrifices, no matter the cost. Others warned that by becoming ruthless, humanity risked becoming the very thing they fought against. Layla's words echoed in these discussions. Injustice never leads to peace. The Galactic Council, meanwhile, was showing signs of desperation. Their once unified front had fractured, with some member species openly questioning their allegiance. The elder races, long accustomed to unquestioned authority, struggled to adapt to a galaxy that was no longer willing to accept their rule. Yet, their pride and fear of humanity kept them from seeking peace. Instead, they doubled down, deploying increasingly destructive weapons and strategies. The cost wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Soldiers in humanity's fleet reported feeling disconnected from the cause. They had joined to defend Earth, to honor Layla's sacrifice, but the endless cycle of destruction weighed heavily on them. Alien allies, too, began voicing concerns. Some feared that Earth's relentless drive for victory might overshadow its promises of freedom and equality. Amid the chaos, stories of courage and sacrifice emerged. On a council-controlled planet, a human battalion stood their ground against overwhelming forces, allowing civilians to escape. On another front, alien rebels sabotaged a council dreadnought, knowing it would cost them their lives. These moments reminded the galaxy and humanity why the war was being fought. Yet, even as the resistance gained ground, the costs continued to mount. Entire planets were rendered uninhabitable. The Council, unwilling to cede control, used their ancient weapons to punish rebellious systems. In one particularly devastating act, they unleashed a device that destroyed the atmosphere of a key rebel stronghold, killing millions. The message was clear. The Council would rather see the galaxy burn than admit defeat. Earth's leaders responded with equal resolve. In a broadcast to the galaxy, they reiterated their commitment to the fight. "We will not stop," the message declared. "For every life lost, every world scarred, the Council will answer. We will fight until their tyranny ends." But behind closed doors, those same leaders wrestled with the weight of their decisions. The galaxy's scars would not heal easily, and the vision of a unified, peaceful future seemed increasingly distant. They knew that even if the Council fell, the alliances forged in war might not survive in peace. The very act of tearing down one power risked creating a vacuum that could lead to chaos. As the Council's forces weakened, humanity's leaders faced a difficult choice: to press forward and ensure the Council's complete destruction, or to extend an offer of peace. Many argued for total victory, fearing that any compromise would leave the Council's remnants a chance to regroup. Others saw peace as the only way to prevent further bloodshed. In the end, the decision was clear. Humanity had not started this war to conquer, but to ensure justice. Earth's leadership made one final attempt to communicate with the Council, offering terms of surrender that prioritized the freedom of all species. The Council's response was swift and predictable: rejection. Earth's leaders knew what had to come next. The final battle loomed, one that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Humanity was prepared to finish what had begun, but the cost of that final act was something no one could fully predict. As the war neared its climax, one thing was certain: Layla Cortez's words had not been forgotten. They had sparked a fire, and that fire now consumed the galaxy. But as the flames burned brighter, so too did the shadows they cast. The price of victory would be steep, and humanity would carry those scars long after the Council was gone. The galaxy's fate hung in the balance as humanity and its allies launched their final assault on the Galactic Council's homeworld, Solvaris Prime. The planet, long considered an impenetrable fortress, was surrounded by a massive defensive fleet and shielded by ancient technologies designed to repel any attack. For centuries, this stronghold had been the ultimate symbol of the Council's power and authority. Earth's fleet, now larger and more unified than ever, approached the planet with precision and purpose. The Council's forces awaited them, an armada of colossal dreadnoughts and countless smaller ships, creating a blockade that stretched across the stars. The odds seemed insurmountable, but humanity had prepared for this moment. The battle began with a coordinated strike. Earth's fleet used advanced stealth systems to bypass the outer defenses, allowing smaller, faster ships to disrupt the Council's formations. Meanwhile, AI-guided drones swarmed the dreadnoughts, overwhelming their targeting systems and creating openings for humanity's main fleet to advance. Above Solvaris Prime, the conflict reached a fever pitch. Beams of energy lit up the darkness, ships exploded in brilliant flashes, and the very fabric of space seemed to tremble under the intensity of the fighting. Humanity's forces fought with unmatched determination, while the Council's fleet, though powerful, began to show cracks under the relentless assault. On the ground, rebel forces coordinated with Earth to launch an uprising. Council troops, long accustomed to subjugating weaker species, found themselves outmaneuvered by determined rebels supported by Earth's advanced technology. The once loyal inhabitants of Solvaris Prime turned against their rulers, further destabilizing the Council's hold. The turning point came when Earth's engineers deployed a last-resort weapon, a gravitational disruptor capable of neutralizing the planetary shields. The device, created in secrecy, unleashed a wave of energy that shattered the shields and left the Council's central fortress exposed. With their defenses down, humanity's forces breached the planet's surface, fighting their way to the heart of the Council chambers. Inside, Earth's leaders and their alien allies confronted the remnants of the Council. The elder races, once proud and unyielding, now appeared desperate and broken. With their fleets destroyed and their authority shattered, they had no choice but to surrender. Humanity stood victorious. The Council was dismantled, and its reign of oppression came to an end. But the scars of the battle, on the galaxy and on humanity, would remain. The galaxy, once dominated by the unyielding rule of the Galactic Council, now stood at a crossroads. Solvaris Prime, the heart of the Council's power, lay in ruins. Humanity's forces had prevailed, dismantling the oppressive regime and liberating countless worlds. Yet the victory, though monumental, came with a heavy cost. As Earth's fleet departed the shattered planet, scenes of recovery began to unfold across the galaxy. Formerly enslaved and oppressed species reclaimed their homelands, their chains broken at last. On distant worlds, symbols of the Council's dominance were torn down, replaced by the emblems of the new alliance forged in the fires of war. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy seemed to breathe freely. On Earth, celebrations were muted by the weight of loss. Billions watched from their homes as images of the final battle were broadcast across every screen. The price of freedom had been steep, countless lives lost, entire planets scarred, and the galaxy itself left teetering on the edge of chaos. While the Council's tyranny had ended, the scars of the conflict would take generations to heal. Earth's leaders, now respected figures across the stars, gathered to honor the lives lost in the struggle. A solemn ceremony was held at the United Earth Command Center, where a towering monument was unveiled in Layla Cortez's honor. Her image, cast in shimmering light, stood as a reminder of the spark that had ignited the rebellion. Beneath it, her final words were etched for all to see. Earth will remember. Earth will never forgive. The monument became a symbol not only for humanity, but for every species that had fought alongside them. Pilgrims from across the galaxy came to pay their respects, leaving tokens of gratitude and promises to never let tyranny take hold again. Meanwhile, Earth faced a new challenge, leading the reconstruction of a fractured galaxy. Though humanity had emerged as a dominant force, its leaders were cautious not to repeat the Council's mistakes. They worked closely with their allies to establish a coalition of free worlds, a governing body that prioritized fairness and cooperation over dominance. The coalition's first acts were to distribute resources to war-torn planets and provide aid to displaced populations. But the task of rebuilding wasn't simple. Trust between species, even among allies, remained fragile. Old grievances resurfaced, and the absence of the Council's iron grip left a power vacuum that threatened to destabilize the newly liberated galaxy. Earth's leaders, aware of these challenges, called for unity, emphasizing that their fight had never been for power but for freedom. Despite the uncertainty, there were moments of hope. On planets where war had once raged, children played among the ruins, their laughter a sign of resilience. Former enemies worked side by side to rebuild what had been destroyed. For many, the war had shown that even the most unlikely alliances could create something stronger than fear. In one of the closing scenes, a delegation of species gathered on Earth to discuss the galaxy's future. Representatives from dozens of worlds spoke of their struggles, their hopes, and their dreams for the new order. Humanity's ambassador, standing where Layla Cortez once stood, addressed the assembly. Their words were simple, but carried immense weight. We fought for freedom, not for control. Together, we can create a galaxy where no one fears oppression again. The final moments of the story shift to a quiet reflection. A lone figure stands at the base of Layla's monument, gazing up at her image. It is a child clutching a small flower, a gesture of gratitude from a new generation that would grow up in a galaxy free from the Council's shadow. The camera pans upward, revealing the stars above Earth. Among them are the ships of humanity's fleet, now symbols of both strength and hope. The galaxy, though scarred, stands on the precipice of a new beginning. The narrator's voice delivers the final words. Injustice lit the spark. Resilience stoked the fire. And Earth, the so-called death world, showed the galaxy the true cost of underestimating humanity. The war is over, but its lessons will echo through the stars for generations to come. The galaxy learned one truth. You don't push a Deathworlder, because when you do, they push back harder. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with the weight of what has been won and what still lies ahead. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about humanity's resilience and the cost of fighting for freedom? Would you like to see a sequel exploring the aftermath of the war or humanity's role in shaping a new galactic order? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more captivating sci-fi tales like this one. Your support helps us bring more of these stories to life. Until next time, keep looking to the stars. They hold the stories of tomorrow.